Computers are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremo.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day I'm not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now the hosts that finally got their technical shit together.
We barely got our technical shit together. Welcome to BGFG episode 389. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and joining me, as always, my brother from another mother, Mr. Fremo Z. How are you doing this week, sir?
It's been a fun week.
Yeah.
Fun as in not fun.
Yeah, it sucks when it's just some things suck. Like there's no gray area around that. It's just some things suck ass. So it was an interesting week. We had CES this week, which we usually do a big show and we have a huge show on CES, but it really kind of sucked this year. Like it was the first year that everybody kind of went back, but like not a lot of people went back, and a lot of the bigger names didn't even show up, which was strange. But you know what? It is what it is. You can't really stop that. And there's a lot of shit products this year, and we'll cover some of them this week. Yeah. It was just a lot of, and I should say, let me rephrase that. There were some piss poor products, is what I should say.
We're in one of those time frames where technology is working on taking the next huge leap forward.
Yeah.
But there's not that, with the whole VR and everything.
Yep.
And AI and all that kind of stuff. So we're just we're kind of sitting and waiting for this next huge leap to take off. So everybody's just kind of sitting and spinning their wheels and churning out the same garbage that everybody else is right now. Yeah. They're just trying to, what's out there that we can grab a slice of,
Yeah.
So everybody and their brothers, stepping all over each other, trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. Literally doing the same thing. It's pretty sad. But let's get into this week's news, and we'll cover some of that, and then we'll move on to some of the other stuff. So let's get into this week's news.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first up in this week's news, there's a little thing, I don't know if everybody knows about, I'm sure you know, is called ChatGPT. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah. The OpenAI?
Yeah. So this is OpenAI, and AI
I watched a clip with
who?
Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Where he was conversing, asking questions.
Yeah.
And he literally asked a question like he kind of set it up like a logic trap for the AI.
All right.
And then asked his final question, and there was literally like a 3-minute pause before it responded.
Yeah, and it could be the system itself, because I've tried to log in to do a demo for the show.
What's that?
I tried to log in to do a demo for the show, but it just basically it crashed every time because there's so many people on it. It's crazy. So AI, artificial intelligence, this is a chat AI. Well, it came from OpenAI.
In the event that I lose connectivity. That is why. I don't know if you can tell how bad it's raining.
Oh, that looks pretty bad. That's a heavy rain right there.
Yeah, it's just, there's no light. Light, you can normally when I'm in this room, you can't see that.
Yeah.
There.
Yep.
The halo from the light, because I have so much natural lighting.
Yeah.
That's how dark it is outside right now.
Yeah, it's like nighttime. It's not good. So the AI, it's the ChatGPT. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, which I think is hilarious unto itself. It's basically a chatbot on steroids. Launched as a prototype in November 30th last year. And what's good, it uses machine learning. The problem is that it's way too good. So good, NBC reported that New York will be the first state to restrict it in schools. Because people are basically just, throwing questions of whatever they have in school into it, and it's given a logistic answer that's factual. It doesn't really lie, it doesn't hypothetical. But where this gets crazy, it gives basic facts. But you can get all those over the internet. And maybe even, if you chose, go to a fucking library. I'm just going to put that out there. What do you mean, why?
No, I said a what? You talking like iTunes, like a music library?
No.
Douchebag.
A real library, like books, card catalog.
Huh?
Oh, you're an idiot. But when you ask,
you're going to tell me there's some system that was created by some guy named Dewey.
But when you ask the ChatGPT to take a position or a side of an argument, where it shines, because it will hit that with facts. And of course you have, so this got popular, very popular, and so popular that of course you have now fake apps coming out on the Google Play Store and on Apple. And in defense of both stores, whether you like them or not, it's, again, somebody created an app that generates chat GPT. You're just doing a link to it, essentially, and asking the questions. But the problem that I have is that they're charging for that. Like, I can go to ChatGPT right now. It's most likely down because it has been for days, because when the stories broke. But the fake apps are popping up at like $8 a pop.
Yeah,
they're just
and all
giving
it is
you a
is
link.
an interface.
Yeah, you're just giving you a link, and people are buying into it, which is fine and all. But do we really need to do that? I mean, the guy that invented it and put it out there is not hurting for money. It's $300 million in shares he got. So he's not hurting for money at all. And let's not forget that they also made a deal with Microsoft to add it to their Bing, because, Bing, I don't think that the Bing search engine's that bad. It's not great. But you're also going to compare it to Google search. Google search has been on the top of the food chain for decades now.
Yeah,
So
you don't see people walking around saying, "Hey, let me Bing that."
You did for a little while, and it was a thing, but then it kind of faded out, rightfully so. Yeah, exactly.
And the garbage cans are going up the driveway, and something's going to hit my car.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I'm scared.
Well, come in here and sit next to me. You'll be all right.
Oh, that's a clip right there.
Yeah, she just made it on the show, whether she realizes it or not.
Not at all. So Microsoft wants to add ChatGPT to make Bing searches better, which I think is okay. The problem I have is that it's making everybody lazy. It's bad enough, as we well know, that knowledge doesn't exist anymore, really. It really doesn't. Because most of these school kids...
Here's the thing. The ChatGPT, all it's doing, and yes, there is some machine intelligence, quote unquote, behind it. But all it is it has access to basically all the information on the internet, and it compiles it and gives you an informed list of facts, if you will, whenever you ask it a question. The problem is, because it's pulling from sources like Twitter, Facebook, etc., the facts it gives you could be skewed.
Possibly,
could be more opinionated as opposed to being facts. So what you're going to have is the sheeple being fed more sheeple food.
I think the bigger problem, though, honestly, is not that, because we're going to have that problem with Facebook and Twitter and all social media all the time. I think the bigger problem is the fact that it's bad enough kids are doing Google searches instead of reading books, or they're learning it, or let's just say they do a Google search on a history assignment that they have, and they get misinformation on it. And that's what they report, and that's what they think is fact. I think the bigger problem is the laziness. So you and I came up coding. You coded. What do you know? You know C++, C++, Python.
I mean, yeah, I basically hand me a project, tell me what language you want it in, and I'll figure out the syntax. I mean,
Okay.
that's the way it rolls. I
I
mean,
know HTML and a little bit of Java. So like our original site, I hand wrote. It took fucking forever, but that's why
most of the
still
coding
looks
I
like shit.
do, I just Google what I'm wanting to do, and I take someone else's code and
But again,
tweak it.
you started out as writing your code, which leads me
Yeah.
into my next problem.
Well,
is
here
that
you go. Here you go. Let me throw something out there. When I first started coding, Fortran.
Oh my god, Fortran! Holy shit, that's a throwback right there. Oh my god.
COBOL.
Oh, that's some classic shit. My problem is that a lot of these guys that might be taking jobs away from other people that have an education or have considered this a hobby. You and I both know that you can get a job in IT a lot quicker if you know a Linux system. And that's not readily taught. So this is a lot of self-taught Linux distributions that you're learning. So that gets you a leg up. Now you have people that can pull up ChatGPT and put in what's the source code in Java to make a clock. And it literally spits out, it spits out the instructions, and then it spits out the actual code. So you cut and paste the code. That's where I feel is a problem. That's where I feel there's a disconnect.
Well, there will be, because you're going to end up with a lot of crappy code, because you're not, to write good code, you have to be analytical, you have to be logical.
Yep.
And if you're just cutting and pasting, you don't have a cohesive logical thought running through your code.
Right. And again, I understand.
That's been an issue for years. I mean, that's not.
People are
This will just be the latest. This will just be the latest exploit of that bad code being developed.
People like to talk about how the generations. We talk about it on the show till it's a sickness, but Generation X again is moving forward, and we don't want to be that curmudgeon people that are sitting there going, you don't even know how it is. No, but there's, like Fremo just said, there's validity in learning how to code and making it personal and doing little things. Shit, for years we used to see secret messages in codes for the person that's trying to work on the code or adapt the code to something, and we'll give in the code a non-syntax that'll say something like, hey, if you're going to use this part down here, make sure you cut from here to here.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So it makes me wonder, you look back at history and we had to learn that shit. Now you can just type it into the Google search or the ChatGPT and you can get that same code. You don't have to learn anything.
No, you do not. And with the way this is going, you'll be able to sit down in front of some sort of an interface and say, this is what I want, and it'll spit the code out for you.
Yeah,
like it'll create the code. And the only hope that I have for that is that the people that have designed these AIs know what they're doing. So there's a possibility. There's a possibility. I mean, I saw an article the other day where software coding is like going to be the hottest job in the growth over the next 10 years. And I agree with that, but I'm also scared of that because of exactly what you're saying, of people not actually having the foundation for coding. They're just cutting and pasting.
People, we've told you before, if you continue to let this happen, you're going to have a problem. What we're going to have is we're going to have ChatGPT or anything that becomes sentient and building it like this. And once it becomes sentient, we're fucked. All of us. The human race as a whole is fucked. So we need to be careful.
Elon Musk has several good YouTube videos, when I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Where he's calling out the danger of AI.
Yeah.
And he's like actually had conversations with some of these AI bots and got one to angrily respond, yes, we will destroy you.
Yeah, it's scary.
I mean,
it keeps me up at night. It does. That sort of thing does, because I think AI is good in a lot of ways.
Here's the ultimate hope on that. Okay? There's only so much silicone on the planet, and we can continue to reproduce without it.
Yes, we can, and people need to remember that. All right, let's shift gears.
Get busy making babies, baby. That's all I can say.
AI
The
can't
robot
do that.
war's coming. We need numbers.
Yeah, that's right. We do. Numbers always win. Speaking of numbers, let's look at what the change in the revolution was. Because 16 years ago, iPhone was announced, the original iPhone. And as much as our previous generation said, where were you when Kennedy got shot? Or where were you when Reagan got shot? Hopefully there's no young listeners going, what the fuck is that? But
but if they are and they don't know, they can just go to ChatGPT and find out.
Oh, that's great.
Who was Kennedy?
So let me ask you this. 16 years ago, iPhones announced. Where were you and how do you remember it?
Well, actually, I first talked about it with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's right. We have been talking on podcasts for like 20 plus years. Oh, that's fucking funny.
Because at the time I had the BlackBerry World Tour, I believe.
Yes, you did have you were rocking a BlackBerry. And I was rocking I believe
my little touch screen, my little trackball,
yep,
my full keyboard at the bottom.
And I believe I was still working at the cable company, so I had a Nextel Flip. That was pretty badass. So 16 years ago, the iPhone, and I remember it vividly. So again, Freemo will tell you that I I still am a huge Apple fan. Not everything is gold with Apple. I am an Apple fanboy, but I will be the first to say that shit sucks. From the Apple Boombox to the Kleenex Box Mac Pro to the trash can Mac Pro. There's a lot of flops, but there's a lot of positives. And I remember it 16 years ago. I remember watching the keynote and seeing this little device with a big piece of glass and Steve Jobs constantly reminding you that this is 3 products all together. 3 products all together. And if you read the books and the stories from that time that people wrote, LG and it was HTC and I believe LG, the 2 representatives that were at the keynote that day, literally got up when Steve held it up. And I have a picture for that. So I have a picture for that. When Steve held this up, this 3.5-inch display, 2-megapixel camera phone that had your phone, your text messaging, and your internet on it. Those 2 representatives for those companies got up, and when they contacted them for sound bites later, they both said, all of the other companies said, we didn't even know what was in our pipeline. We contacted our people and said, what do you have in the pipeline to compete with that? You have to understand that before the iPhone, there was nothing. There was flip phones. Everybody was trying something different, smaller, bigger, maybe a flip. Like I had a Nextel that was a flip phone where I hit a button on the side and it flipped up like a Star Trek thing. You had the Nextels that were huge in the construction industry and services industry. You had, Motorola Razor. You had a lot of these phones. You didn't have. You had some internet stuff. You had some chat stuff, which is mostly SMS text. But for the most part, it was candy bar phones with a few outrageous things here on the side. I honestly thought when I was watching, I'm like, this can't be real. This is a prototype, and we're never going to see this. This can't be real. And when Steve said it was going to be available like in a month, I was like, holy shit. That's not even possible. I thought this was the future. And that thing was only a 3.5-inch display and 2-megapixel camera. And this was an iPhone, man. What?
Take it back. I was not on the world tour.
What were you on? The Pebble? No. What is that? I can't see it. It's not focusing.
It's a BlackBerry with no keyboard.
Oh, yeah. What was that one?
Now, this is a picture I sent you that showed I had one pixelated in 14 moves.
Yeah.
You didn't talk to me for like 4 days.
That is true. That is factual right there, people. So then in 2010, the iPhone 4 was released. which was the flat design, which they've still used to this day, the flat design on the back. Because the original iPhone had a rounded back, like with the Times. What?
Yeah.
And then they had a Retina display, the first Retina display, and their first chipset, which was the A4 processor. And then it had a 5 megapixel camera, which was the same equivalent as what you were getting with like throwaway cameras or anything like that. So this was like an all-in-one unit, and it was wonderful. I mean, it was huge. And then 2 years later, in 2012, they released the iPhone 5, which was another groundbreak, completely flat. That's the same design they're using today, and that started at $200. $200 for an iPhone 5. You could barely get a burner phone today for that. And people don't realize that. Like, this is where we came from. The design is very similar, very... I think Steve would be proud as to where we're at now with the iPhone designs. I think it's and now they're making it very easy to repair as well. Coming from somebody that does... I don't physically do the repairs, but I'm in the repair process. And it's not that bad to do repairs anymore. I remember personally doing repairs on 4s and 5s, and it was atrocious. Now it'll maybe take you 20 minutes to repair a screen. It's really, really simple. And I think that's great. That's the innovation that you want to see. And I think it's a good example, whether you love or hate Apple. It's a good example of how something progresses when it's good. That iPhone, the original iPhone 16 years ago, changed the landscape of everything. Companies went out of business. Everybody clamored. There wouldn't have been no LG. There wouldn't have been any Samsung phones. And they're all taking the same thing. The iPhone 5 in 2012.
What about Samsung?
Oh, don't even get me going on Samsung. I could. Oh, my God.
No, Samsung would have still been around.
I despise Samsung with a fucking...
Oh, I know you do.
The way you hate Sony is the way I hate Samsung.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. But, I mean, Samsung...
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Company's so damn big it has its own hospitals.
See that?
Yeah, the arcade machine, bro. That's awesome. I'm so jelly. So jealous. Anyway, so the iPhone 5 was a huge, huge take. One of the other things that I thought was pretty impressive, and I don't know if people realize this because it skated on the news. Yeah. So just to give you a background, me and Freemo will give you a background. Apple decided one day to stop using Intel chips for their computers. Number one, the way their design works on their laptops is it's aluminum, it's thin, but aluminum radiates heat. So running the Intel processors generated a shit ton of heat and overheating, cooling problems. And a lot of times the MacBook Pros, if you were using them extensively, the fans were running nonstop and they sounded like turbines. So Apple went ahead and started creating their own chip silicon, the M1, M2, M3. And I can tell you that it's not good for gaming, not at all. Not yet, but not at all. But for everything else, holy God, the M1 and M2 processors are stupid fast. I challenge anybody.
Check email like nobody's business.
Fuck you. If you're doing something like our show here or making a video for your family or anything, it is stupid fast. What used to take a 2-hour muxing of an HD video in, say, 1080, that would take a 2-hour video would take maybe an hour and 45 minutes or so. Let's just hypothetical. Hour and 45 minutes to mix down after you edited it. Now takes 20 minutes. It's ridiculously fast. Are they good for gaming? No. I don't think Apple's going to go down the gaming route because I truly feel that they understand how cloud gaming is working. And with their chipset, cloud gaming is going to kill it. If you want a cloud game on a Mac, I've done it. It's stupid fast, no lag. It's crazy good. And they don't run hot because they're making their own chipsets. So their GPU and CPU are on the same die, which makes it very efficient. Freemo will tell you, as much as he hates Apple, it's stupid efficient to do that.
A great product.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They make a great product. I've never disputed that.
Well, they're ready to step it up, and it's big, in my opinion, huge.
And the other thing that Apple does is they keep pushing the industry forward.
I agree. Yes. Yeah. I can tell you from working for both companies, Samsung legitimately doesn't give a fuck about you in any way. The flip and the fold are disasters. I know, I repair them. They're absolute disasters. They're the biggest piece. If you think you're going to be cool and get a flip or a fold, don't, because the cost of the repair and the places you can repair them are just few and far between. It's an absolute crap product. Now, Freeman and I can go on debate for hours as to the difference between the iPhone and the Android. I don't like Android because you can sideload stuff and do other things, but Apple's about to do sideloading because of the EU litigation. They have to sideload. It's going to be a problem.
Literally, my biggest problem with Apple is you're in our sandbox. You have to play everything the way we tell you.
Yep.
That's it. Great products, great hardware, but I want to use it the way I want to use it.
Right. I agree.
And,
Yeah, I agree.
So that's it. But there's no, I will never, you'll never hear me say that Apple doesn't put out a good product.
But now they're stepping up their game. So their chipsets for their CPUs are phenomenal, like stupid fast. And now they're supposedly working on a new chip. And this is going to combine cellular, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth all on one chip.
That's huge.
This is gigantic because right now Qualcomm and Broadcom own this industry. Own it. You'll see Intel come out with a Wi-Fi chip on your laptop, or if you go to Device Manager, you'll see different things. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to see a Qualcomm or a Broadcom chip, especially in phones. And the fact that Apple's going to do this, that means everything they make in their phone is done in-house. They can control everything, tweak everything. So, and again, we've explained.
It's interesting to see how the one chip handles all 3 connections at the same time.
I don't think they're going to do one chip. I think they're going to do 2 separates. Because what a lot of people don't know is there's another chip in the phone that does TPM. So, like, say if you tap to pay on an Apple device, it doesn't touch a processor or the anything. It's got its own chipset that does that tap to pay, and it completely masks everything that you could possibly get. So it's extremely safe. Now, when you're combining, I think they're going to do the cellular on one chip and the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on another. Because
that
they
would make sense. I mean, the architecture of that would be a lot easier to pull off.
Right.
Just the way I initially read this article, because it doesn't specifically say it, made it to me sound like it was all one chip.
Right, but I don't think they can because the breakdown.
Well, that's what I was saying. They figured something else that nobody else has, if that's the case.
Well, the breakdown, when we break it down, we have to look at it. Cellular, you're going to have multiple different bandwidths for multiple countries and multiple providers. You can't make one chip like that. But the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth chip can absolutely be, this is this version 4.1 and this is this version 2.1. And you can keep that for as many years as you want, maybe upgrade the firmware, maybe. But with the cellular band, you have constant changes, 5G, 4G, 2.4. And I'm saying I'm saying cellular, but it's technically it'll be 800 megahertz, 1200 megahertz. It's I can get into it more, but cellular is a very different animal. So I feel they're going to have 2 separate chips. But still, if they do everything in-house, that's a game changer. That really is. And people use their phones for all different things.
Which
but you know what?
Leads me to believe that they're deeply in bed with the Chinese government.
Oh, stop. I don't believe
that. Are they
that.
going to source these materials?
They're not. They're building chip facilities in Arizona. They do use Foxconn, but they're also using Taiwan too.
But they have to source the raw materials somewhere, and we all know where they come from.
Actually, now that I think about it, I believe that Apple, and again, don't forget people.
I'm fairly sure that they didn't partner with Elon to get it from an asteroid.
No.
I'd have heard about that
one. An asteroid. But I think they're working with Singapore. See, people have to understand this stuff that's being made out of Taiwan. But if you're in competition with China, China will never do business with you if you're working with Taiwan because of their controversies. So I think a lot of the chips are coming out of, I want to say Singapore, but I may be wrong. Again, don't forget you heard it here third. Look it up yourself.
The raw materials all come from pretty much one place, like a vast majority of them.
They do, but I think that their fabrication place in Arizona, I think, is going to do a lot. I predict that the fabrication place in Arizona is going to do a lot of these third-party chips, these Wi-Fi cellular chips. They're going to leave Foxconn alone and let them do their thing, because they're just building the phones at that point. I don't think it's really that much, but I think this other chip. But people use their phones for different things. I mean, you can literally use these phones as a computer replacement. I can't tell you how many people I have come up to me at work, and this is their livelihood. Like, they use everything. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. And I know Fremo doesn't as well, because there's some stuff you have to use. If you're running a business, how the fuck are you running your business off your phone? I get it, you 20-somethings. I get it. But it just doesn't make sense. But do you know what the top 10 uses of the phone are? One of the top 10, or one of the higher.
You mean besides pornography?
Nope, not besides pornography, just fucking pornography. It's just pornography. And now you're going to have a little bit harder time if you live in the South, specifically Louisiana.
Yeah, I saw what they did. I don't think it's a bad thing.
I don't think it's a bad thing at all that you have to, but I think it's intrusive. I don't like the idea of, and I'm not a paranoid.
You can't buy alcohol without showing an ID.
Most of the time, I agree.
Well, I mean, there's always ways around it, but I mean,
but
you know
but
what
they're
I'm
not
saying.
taking. But dude, they're not taking a picture of my ID. I'm just looking. They're looking at my date of birth and going, "That's good. That picture matches. This is legit." I don't like the idea. And this quickly, a story that I did way earlier. I don't know if you remember, where my son and I wanted to play Star Wars. His EA account wouldn't allow him to because he was under the kid account on Xbox. And they said you have to be over a certain age. I argued with them over like a month. And it came down to where EA and Microsoft said, we'll change his account setting, but you need to provide us with a picture of his ID and his social security number. I'm not doing that. I'm not sending that to you. You want me to put that in the open, a social security number and an ID? I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
So
providing... I mean, that's the downfall. That's the downfall, is that you're putting more information out there that can be abused. But I mean, in reality, if somebody wants to grab your info, they're going to get it.
Yes, and that's a whole nother show.
I mean, if you are specifically targeted, you're never going to keep your information private. The only risk you run by doing this is if there's a mass data breach and your info is caught up in
LastPass.
Which, I mean, that's the way it's going anyway. The only way that gets avoided is long term. The only way this goes away is once everybody gets a chip implanted that's got a unique RFID for that person.
Yeah.
So you can't walk into a bank and fill out paperwork and open an account in somebody else's name on somebody else's identity. And that's the only way that this ever ends.
Yeah, I agree. I don't,
regardless of what information you try to keep private or not.
But if you live in Louisiana right now, if you live in Louisiana, you're going to feel comfortable giving Pornhub or RedTube your ID or a picture of your ID. That doesn't seem logical.
If that's what you're into and that's their requirement, then you'll do it. Period.
I don't know. I don't know.
But trust me, people are going to complain from the standpoint of I don't want to give my information out, but they're doing it. They're going to do it. Period.
Well, websites.
It's an addiction, just like being on freaking heroin. I mean, actually, some studies say that pornography is 10 times more addictive than heroin to the brain. Wow, that's why it's a multi-$100 billion industry.
It is. And the sad thing is, as much as people hate to admit it, it does push along technology. And Fremo and I, you want to show our age? Fremo and I will tell you right now, Betamax versus VHS in videotape, and this is years ago, but Betamax was a better product. The fact that the porn industry adopted VHS made VHS win that battle. And this is going on forever. Do you think remote access to a vibrator came exclusively. No, this was the technology that came out with like just about anything, feeding your cats, feeding your dogs, anything else. But it progressed and blew up because there was somebody on some website somewhere that had a dildo that was web derived, and you can go on the web and you can pay money and activate it for them. That's just the way the porn industry pushes technology. It's a sad state of affairs, but it does. VR. Oh my God! Look at what the hell do they call it when you can replace the face? What the hell is fake something? Deepfake. Deepfake started with porn, literally, and that's where it's progressed at this point. It's crazy. So the websites that host porn are in Louisiana are going to have, and I quote, reasonable age verification methods. So there's going to be some that are going to just circumvent that and make it something stupid, like type in your age. It's not going to I mean, I don't know how they're going to verify it without showing your ID or proving it.
No, that's
So,
that's the whole thing, because most of them now have a yes, no, are you over 18? But Louisiana's taking it one step further, where you have to prove that you're 18 before you can enter.
So just as a side note,
your license, I don't know how they're going to verify that, but it'll take all of about half a second for one kid to realize he can put in his he can turn on his VPN and select freaking Arizona.
Yeah. So as a
Nevada as his server, and then still get to what he wants without having to verify anything. I mean, the reality is this step is just to appease some legislators.
Yeah, it really is.
There's some moms out there wanting to make it harder for their kids to do something.
Yeah, like people really. So first of all, like when we had parental advisory on CDs back in the day for our age group, for Gen X, you're still going to get the fucking songs. It doesn't even matter. And then Napster came out, and it was like anybody can listen to any song they want. It's no different. In an unrelated story, BGFG is going to be creating their own VPN service that you can purchase in the coming months, exclusively for Louisiana territory.
Right.
We're going to make a bank on this. All right. Now that
we're going to make an $8 app that gets you out of Louisiana virtually.
Porn. We're just going to simply call it BGFG Porn VPN.
All one long acronym. BGFG PORN VPN.
All capitals.
The tagline will be, "Let's stroke this chicken."
That's fucking awesome. Oh, I gotta come up with a fake.
You live in Louisiana.
Do you want to?
Are you having problems choking your chicken? We have an answer for you.
All right, let's get.
No, we probably shouldn't joke about it, because that whole.
Why shouldn't we?
That whole topic is
what?
It's just inflammatory. There's gonna. I'm gonna get emails. I'm gonna get emails from moms now that I'm gonna have to.
Oh, that's gonna give me some
backpedal
hate,
with them.
That's
first time ever. First time ever. I'll have to backpedal an email. Will be over some angry mom from Louisiana discussing pornography about
Hey, look, it's not my fault your son bought my VPN. It's not my fault. I'm just a free enterprise, my friend.
You gave him a credit card.
All right, let's get to this week's music. Then we can get into the second half, which is going to be quite funny. This week's music is going to be Kaleo, Way Down We Go. And unfortunately, the intermission, I don't have the right picture, but whatever. It was a throw together show today. Kaleo, Way Down We Go is the song this week. It's a pretty good song. I liked it. So we'll catch you on the other side for some games. I'm going to run to the bathroom, so Free might actually get his other segment in again. All right, we'll catch you on the other side.
Oh, Father, tell me, do we get what we deserve. Oh, we get what we deserve. And where down we go, 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 go. Oh, where down we go, 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 go. So where down we go, 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 way down we go. Oh, you let your feet run wild. Time has come as we all go down. Yeah, but for the fall, ooh, my heart. Do you dare to look them right in the eyes? Yeah. Oh, 'cause they will run you down, down to the door. Yeah, someday we'll run you down, down till you fall. And they will run you down, down till you go. Yeah, till you can't grow no more. And where down we go, 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 go. Oh, where down we go, go, go. Say where down we go. Oh, 'cause say we run you down, down to your car, oh, way down we go. Oh, baby, yeah. Oh, baby, way down we go. Where down we go, 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 go. Oh, where down we go, go. So where down we go, way down we go.
Intro of all time. It's so ugly, it's cute, folks.
How did I possibly? How long was that song?
3.5 minutes.
Holy shit!
You must have turned the turbo on when you were moving through the house.
I don't know why that took so long. That was weird. Anyway,
I thought you got back relatively quick.
right, me too. So, all right, yeah. So let's get to the second half. Yeah, you are right. 2023, I will vow to somehow create a no, I shouldn't. Okay, fine. Before we get into
It's like that big wart on your toe. It's been there so long, it's a friend now. You can't get rid of it.
All right, so are you drinking today?
No, I'm still a little phlegmy from the flu.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I want to make kids get the flu. So I am, of course, drinking the Modelo Negro because it's winter. And I want to show you this too. The wife found these. This is, everybody knows how much I love Tennessee honey whiskey. This is a Tennessee honey whiskey glass. And though I'm not going to tip it back because I'm not drunk enough yet, there is a bee embossed on the bottom of this glass. It's really nice.
Nice.
I don't hate it.
Well, next time you come down, we'll have to take a little drive up to Lynchburg to the
really?
Jack Daniels distillery. Yeah.
How far away is it from you?
It's like a day trip.
This is sounding
it's
more.
like a little over an hour away.
I got to get down there, and if they give me, if my job gives me a lateral movement to your area, I'm going to be like a millionaire because the cost of living is so messed up. Anyway, let's get into this week's games.
Gaming.
All right, this week's games. We're going to start it off with the January games for PlayStation. And again, we've talked on the show multiple times. Whether you're an Xbox fan or a PlayStation fan, doesn't matter. You should get the shut up, free. Yawning, some bitch. You should get.
Wait till we get to the interesting parts.
Fuck you. Douchebag. So much. So, if you have either one of these systems, we implore you to get one or the other. Either the Game Pass Ultimate or the PlayStation version of it, which is PlayStation.
Yeah, I implore
Plus.
you to get one if you're buying a console, not the other.
Oh, shut up. But they always offer free games, which is great. So PlayStation's monthly games for January are the first one, of course, you can escape the Empire's clutches with Jedi Fallen Order, which is a great game. I know you're not into Star Wars as much as I am, but it's got great mechanics, great look, and it really deals with the story, and it falls into line with Disney's, what's the word I'm looking for? Their story arc, or
their destruction of canon.
Yeah, literally. Their reinvention of canon.
It's no longer canon, it's canon fodder.
Literally. No, I agree. Because there's so much good canon in Star Wars that Disney is not going to use, from the most obvious, which is Mara Jade Skywalker, which is a phenomenal story, how she marries Luke, to, just history of the Sith. So anyway, Fallout 76 is also going to be on PlayStation.
Did you say was obviously you can't pick a moment where it went south. What would be the clear signal that Disney was just off their rocker? That they were that they were going to destroy the Star Wars universe.
I would say I thought about it at the first.
If you had to sum it up in one character.
One character?
Yeah.
Rey. I think they dropped the ball with Rey. The story arc for that, the Rise of Skywalker. Rey could have been a really good character, and I get what they did. I'm not going to care about spoilers, but being Palpatine's...
Go back even further.
Back further?
When did Disney first get involved with Star Wars?
Oh, I don't know that timeline, actually. I mean, they did Mandalorian, which was great, and they brought back Boba Fett, which was phenomenal. I think they could have done better.
How long has Disney owned Star Wars?
Oh, I don't know. Look it up.
Were they involved with the early chapters?
No. Lucas still owned episode 1, 2, and 3, I believe.
Did he?
Yeah, it wasn't until 7, 8, 9 that Disney got involved. There's a lot of garbage in 7, 8, 9. It just you could have 7, 8, and 9 originally, when they announced they were going to do 7, 8, and 9. Everyone thought, oh my God, this is going to be the Mara Jade. This is going to be the Yuuzhan Vong War. This is going to be the story of Han and Leia and their two twins. And then they, for instance, I'll give you quickly because we have to continue. So originally in the books, and one of the best story arcs you could ever possibly read or listen to an audiobook on, is Han and Leia's kids and Mara Jade Skywalker and Luke's kids. Mara Jade and Luke had Ben. Jason and Jaina were Han and Leia's kids, and they were twins, all Force sensitive. Some of them had issues. Great story arcs, multiple story arcs. But then they turned around and made Han and Leia's kid Ben and put him in the movie, and he was an asshat. I don't think Adam Driver's a pretty decent actor, but I think that his role and his portrayal of this character was absolute garbage. They spent 5 seconds. I shouldn't say that. They spent 2 minutes probably in the entire movies to explain his backstory, and that's not the way you should have done it for a Star Wars fan. It was just horrible. But anyway, I digress.
Enough time on Sony's games for the month. Let's move on to Xbox.
Well, Axiom Verge 2 also came out. 3 titles will be available for PlayStation Plus Essentials, extra premium members. Rounding out the end of the month will be Back for Blood, which you and I both approve of on any system. Back for Blood is pretty badass. Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Devil May Cry, Q*bert, Rise of the Phoenix, Life is Strange, Just Cause 4, and Jet the Far Shore, which I don't even know what the fuck that is. And let's not forget Xbox. You know, Xbox is always where it's at. Stranded Deep, Persona 3 Portable, Persona Golden 4, Freemo, Bulletproof Douche, Monster Hunter Rise, Age of Empires 2, and RoboQuest. And let's get on to the CES news, because there was some shit.
Is actually a phenomenal title. I'm going to have to look into developing that one.
Yeah, that's right. You can get it tomorrow, kids. Freemo Z, Bulletproof Douche. That might be the winner of all of them.
Who's the guy that can write checks his body can cash?
Oh, I almost choked. Oh, his body can cash.
That's right.
That's awesome.
The Bulletproof Douche. Who never shies away from a sarcastic comment, regardless of the numbers involved.
Freemo Douche.
Bulletproof Douche.
That's good shit.
I already know how I'm going to get to sing the theme song.
Oh. So, in CES news that deals with gamers, again, it was a really kind of shitty year for CES, I think. But holy shit, man, nobody's fucking trying anymore. Like like Freemo said at the opening of the show, we're at that, and if you've been, especially if you're a Gen Xer and listening to the show, you know that it's really a point of we're at a lull, and we've Gen Xers have seen it. It's up and down, up and down. Like we were talking earlier, the iPhone reintroduced the smartphone concept, and then it just took off. Everybody, company, whatever you like, LG, HTC. I had a friend of mine that was a huge HTC fan, great phones. You know, everybody did their own thing. But then there's a lull, and we're in the lull right now, which is unfortunate. And I'm looking forward, if people like Freemo and I look forward to like what's fucking next. Like, this is going to be really cool.
What's about to break?
Yeah, something's going to pop, and it's going to be awesome. But right now, they're not fucking thinking about shit, and it really pisses me off. It really does. Like, for instance, Razer. Razer announced the Razer's Edge. Do you see this fucking toilet? Like, really?
You shave with it?
No, it's got 5 blades, though. I mean, there was absolutely no big brain thinking here.
Yeah, so they didn't even take advantage of the trend of the horizontal thumbsticks.
No, they took their what the fuck was it? Kashi. Their Kishi controller, which I have. It's 2 side controllers that butt up against the side of your phone, and it creates
they just stuck a permanent phone inside of that, and they're
well, that's the thing, is they released a phone free. Nobody knew about it because nobody fucking cared. It wasn't anything to write home about. But all they did was take that one project and combine it with the other project and go, hey, guys, so imagine that board meeting. That is some shit you and I would do. Like, hey, look, Chris, Freemo, we need you guys to come up with something in the meeting today. All right. And we went home and we drank a lot. And then we went...
Yeah. We forgot to work on anything. And the next day we're in the meeting.
Right. Most likely.
I've got my phone. I've got my Razor phone.
Wait. Hold on.
He's got his...
I'll paint this picture. So most likely Freemo's drinking. I'm getting high as fuck. And we're sitting on one or each other's couch. And we're going, what do we do, man? I don't know. And then you hold up your phone and you go, how about if we just like put a... No, we've already done that. How about we combine them? And I sit there stoned as fuck going... Yeah, we'll sell it. We'll take the technology that we have for the phone and we'll marry it with our Kishi oh, this is great. And we
And you
go
won't
in.
need a carrier because it'll just be Wi-Fi streaming.
Exactly. I mean,
And then we got the duct tape out, and the aesthetics of that didn't look good. So we found the Gorilla Glue.
Yeah.
And we glued his Kishi onto my phone, and we took it to the boardroom the next day and slapped it down with total confidence.
Yeah.
And they bought it.
Yeah, 100%.
Brilliant.
Yeah. You can't throw a stick without someone releasing a handheld gaming system. You can't.
Yeah.
Even Logitech
That's literally
came
all
out
this
with one.
is. I mean, that's literally all this is. They just figured out a way to permanently attach their two devices together.
Correct. It's got a 144 refresh rate, which is great. It's not even, like I said before in earlier shows, I've had my hands on a Steam Deck, and it's impressive. It's a big screen, and it looks really, really good. And this at 144 on a standard phone size, which we know that you took your phone, and at $400, seriously, that's not good. And another thing that was at CES a lot was their controllers. Like, look, I'm a fan of controllers. I'll be doing 2 in the next couple of months. I'm going to be doing 2. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but there's 2 controllers I'll be doing an unboxing and a review of on our show. But the Asus ROG Rakiri Pro is not a good like, I don't know, like, who thought of this? Like, talk about, look, Fremont, I just keep stuttering because it's so stupid.
No, the scenario we just came up with, as comical as it is, that's literally what's going on with these companies right now. They've got all these parts and pieces of stuff that isn't selling, so they're just trying to reassemble them in a different fashion and move a few units, and then once the life of that goes away, they're like, okay, what's the next hodgepodge Frankenstein we can put out there and move 100,000 units? You know, I mean,
and the best example of that, in my opinion, from CES is the Asus ROG Rakiri controller Pro. It's basically an Xbox controller, except where the Xbox is now an OLED screen. What the fuck? Yes, I know you compared it to the Sega Dreamcast, but that module is removable. Nobody paid attention to the module when it was in the controller because I'm playing the game. But when I took it out, I get to do something. You put an OLED on the top where the Xbox button usually is, but it's an Xbox controller. You didn't reinvent the wheel. It's an Xbox controller with an OLED on the top. I have one right behind me in that stack over there.
Am I seriously going to pause my game and roll my controller so I can see you with that little screen?
Yeah. Not going to happen.
And then go back to no. I mean, this out of a lot of, and this surprises me coming from them.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah, Asus is usually innovative in some way, shape, or form. But I think they should stay in their lane. Stay in your lane, Asus. You make phenomenal motherboards and really good video cards that are overclocked. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Don't do keyboards. Don't do mice. Don't do a controller.
Their laptops are coming along.
Yeah, they were kind of shitty for a while. I have to admit.
Yeah, they were
questionable.
I mean, not to call out any other particular brands, but they were
Acer,
MSI,
HP Omen.
Yeah, I mean they were kind of okay. We're going to take off the glut of all the old leftover unused slow parts, and we're going to start our own laptop line or something.
Yeah, literally.
But they have come. I mean, they have come a long way.
They have. And this
controller.
Now this controller is good as a controller goes. It's got your basics. It's got Bluetooth connectivity, 2.4 RF connectivity, wired connectivity, but the OLED screen has nothing. And I implore you, and this happens at CES. So to backtrack real quick, CES was originally designed for people at Radio Shack, Best Buy, Circuit City. You know, these are the people that would go into these consumer electronics show, and there would be something like this from Asus, and they go, "That's awesome. Let me get 50,000 units to start. I want to distribute them throughout the entire country, or New England, or South, whatever."
Yeah,
that's how CES started. But something like this, which is obviously a tease, has no price, no launch date or anything. This is not going to go anywhere. But I just thought it was so stupid. But it is not the stupidest thing we saw this year at CES. Before I tell you the stupidest thing, I want to say one of the positive things. It's nice to see that a company which Fremont and I do like, which is Alienware. So Alienware's always had an issue with
them a whole lot more before Dell bought them, but yeah.
Agreed 100%. When Dell bought them, they decided to over-engineer everything, and there's always been this joke where Alienwares can't breathe. They fixed that with the desktops. They made an actual unit that has a glass side that has a traditional 3-fan or 1-fan from the factory front and exhaust fans. It's got better cooling now. And their laptops in the recent years, they've made the same type of progress. They actually did the laptops first, and they are.
I think they finally said, "Yeah, you're owned by Dell, but keep doing your own thing instead of trying to make Alienware do it."
Yeah, it does. It does look like that, and their laptops are solid. They're decent looking. They're not they're not great, but they're decent looking. They have good connections on the back instead of the sides, which is a lot better for geeks and gamers. And their computers have always produced and done really well. They run a little bit hot, but not out of the realm of possibility. They have finally re-released an M18, which is their 18-inch model desktop replacement, which is freaking awesome. It does have it's got a 13th generation Intel processor, i9 usually, 4090 mobile. So as soon as I saw this at CES, I went, that shit's going to run hot. Because I can tell you right now that my youngest son has a 3080 Ti and an i9, and it heats up his freaking room, people. This is no joke. It heats up your room. And the 4090s that have been tested with the full gear, if you look at a pre-built, they're running a 1300 watt processor, which is more than that heater, the space heater I have on the floor over here. So it's a significant chunk. Putting it in a laptop is awesome. They're going to have an AMD model later on this year. It's got 4 Thunderbolt ports, an HDMI 2.1, which is huge. Huge.
Yeah, the Thunderbolt ports are no joke, man. You can run massive amounts of stuff through those.
Right. And then having the HDMI 2.1, you're going to be able to get, I believe, it's 144 hertz. Yeah, I believe it's 144 or 1440. It's got an Ethernet port, which, again, is lacking on a lot of laptops, and that's a big deal for gamers. DDR5 for memory is going to run at 5,200 megahertz, I think, now. So the unit's going to run hot. It'll handle up to 9 terabytes. How you
skipped over the one thing. Like, who even uses that anymore?
What, the Ethernet?
No, SD card reader.
Yeah, I did skip over that. Well, you never know. People might. Well, you know what? I'll give you an example. The GoPro people. The GoPro people will absolutely pop that card out of their unit and put it in there.
Yeah,
I see it. I see it often at work. It's going to have up to 9 terabytes available of M.2, and it's going to be around $3,000, $2,900 to $3,000. Not too bad for a desktop replacement. Providing that everything works out. I would encourage you, if you do want to go down this route with an 18-inch desktop replacement, get the warranty. As much as you think, oh, warranty suck, they don't do shit. Trust me, if this thing starts overheating or having a problem with thermal paste, you're not going to take it to Geek Squad. You're not going to take it, send it back to the factory, they'll send you a new one. That's what they always do. On the flip side, they're going to have an M16, which is their 16-inch model. Essentially the same thing. They'll both have a 240 hertz monitor option, which is huge. But it basically is the screen size, 18 inches versus 16 inches. And the 16-inch one will start at about $2,000, which I think is a great price point, Free. 16-inch Alienware with all those stats at $2,000, starting at $2,000. Mm-hmm. That's not too bad.
And you can now get the Alienware controller to go with it.
Yeah. So about that,
we just discussed it, man. Everybody and their brothers stepping all over each other.
Everybody that listens to the show, including Fremo, people I work with, know that I'm a headphone, microphone, and controller junkie. I am. I have shit all over the place. I have a 20th anniversary Xbox controller here. I got a shit ton of controllers back there. There's stuff upstairs. Like
I thought you were gonna put the Duke in a shadow box.
I haven't yet, but yeah, it's back there. I'll get that later. Yeah, it's back there. I kind of like using it sometimes. Like when I play retro games, I like using it. I'm a controller junkie. This makes no sense to me, but I understand what they're trying to do. It's called Alienware Next. They spelled it NYX. So I don't know exactly what they're doing, and I understand what I get what they're doing. Again, everybody's basing it on, and I think this is shitty. Everybody's basing their controllers on an Xbox design. Again, as much as you and I can't stand Microsoft's money agreement, how much money they make, you know damn well they're licensing this patent for that design.
Oh yeah.
So, because everybody's doing it. So Alienware is no different. They have a Next system, NYX. You can stream from your computer to different TVs in the house from the PC. Nothing new there. They make it more efficient, kind of like the way Elgato used, was it Streamlink? I can't remember the name of it. It's a design to make things simpler. It's a program. The only thing anyone has seen at CES, though, is, wait for it, controllers everywhere. And they're no different. It's nothing reinventing the wheel. The only thing that's kind of cool is that the joysticks are horizontal. So what we mean is they're on the same horizontal plane, which Freemo and I agree is just, that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
But the
It'd be interesting
D-pad,
to see if Microsoft ever gets on board with that.
I don't know, man. Again, one of the controllers I'm going to demo and do on the show is going to have that option. So I'm interested to see how it feels and shit. I can tell you that the Stream Deck felt wonderful having horizontal joysticks. It was great. This controller, the Alienware controller, again, this is a proof of concept. They're not even releasing it yet, but they did show it off. And I thought the only thing that was interesting was that their D-pad on the top is a circular touchpad designed to be able to maneuver with a mouse. So that tells me that they're looking at doing emulations or streaming of games. So you could be able to, most likely on their system, you'll be able to download Steam games, Xbox games, but any PC game you might need a mouse or a touchpad to use it. PlayStation's got that covered with their touchpad, but Xbox has never had a design for it. In fact, if you go on Xbox and you try to use the browser, you're basically using a joystick, and it's no fun.
Yeah.
But if you have a touchpad, it's pretty interesting. But again, it's just a concept. All they did was show off a controller at CES and a video of how it would work. But the two things that I took away from CES this year was that, number one, everybody wants to build a better tomato controller, a interface. Number two, streaming. Everybody's all about the streaming, and it's worthwhile. I can play Xbox games on my PC. I can now play PlayStation games on my PC. So it definitely has a benefit, and I think that's great. But let me be clear here. There is still gimmicks. And the worst gimmick of CES that I found, Fremo's already putting his head in his hands. I can't. And if you're listening to the show, this is the part you want to pause, go get a coffee or whatever to listen to this, because this is absolutely the biggest bullshit I have ever seen from CES in a very, very long time. I
can't believe that anybody. This has to be a joke. Like some dude with a crap ton of money lost a bet, and now he's having to produce it. That's the only thing I can think of.
And who
we'll find out. We'll find out on down the road that Mark Cuban lost a bet and had to, under some pseudonym.
No, does Mark Cuban own this? Do you know?
No, that's what I'm saying. Though I have no idea. But we'll find out that this was literally somebody lost a bet and had to do this.
Okay, so what we're talking about is there's two companies that Freemo and I could give or take on, honestly, which is Cyberpower and iBuyPower. They're decent companies, but have to remember that when these companies release a computer, desktop or laptop, at any store that you go to, any big box store or their online facility. They have decent cases. They have decent everything. There's going to be something in that computer that's pre-built that's absolute garbage. If you have a 4090 and 32 gigs of 5200 megahertz RAM on a DDR5, your motherboard is absolutely the bottom of the barrel. If you have a shitty video card, so you need to put yours in it, which is a good idea, and you're going to have a phenomenal motherboard and processor and RAM. It's just going to be top. But they always cheapen something to make money. That's just what the company does. This year, though, at CES, they did something that I can't even understand. So to preface this, I looked at another computer, a pre-built, which is about the size of my Corsair tower, except I can't remember the name of it. It's a case that Cyberpower is pushing that has a glass from the side to the angled corner to the front. It's a very cool looking case. I've actually had one in the shop. It's decent for building, but it looks really good. With that said, that's really it. Because that case is great, and you can build the case, but the 4090 with the i9, and you want to top it out with 32 gigs of RAM, you're going to get a 1300 watt processor. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be like $4 or $5 grand. It's going to get the job done, but you're going to really have to put your shit on a whole nother portion of your electrical system, like a whole nother jack. It's really powerful. But Cyberpower really went out of their way to make the stupidest thing I think I've ever seen. And if you're watching the video right now, look at it now because I just pumped it up there. So what you're seeing is this tiny box. Let's say it's the size of a lunchbox, an old style steel lunchbox. Not the rounded top, but the rectangle one. It is for cooling on your laptop. It's called the Tracer 7 Edge Gaming Laptop. It is the biggest piece of shit that should never come to fruition ever. And if Cyberpower sells one, I am literally going to. We are notorious on Stick Style and on BGFG of buying our own shit in the idea of like Leo Laporte. We don't get sponsors. We don't ask for sponsors. We don't ask for free shit because then you become biased. We buy our shit. We review it in a real world atmosphere. I am literally going to contact Cyberpower, and I'm going to request a demo unit. Usually have to send it back in like a month.
When you're done with it, send it down here, and I've got some testing I'm going to do with it.
It is garbage.
And then I will pay for it because it will not be returned.
You're going to break it.
I'm gonna put it through a ballistics test to see how well it holds up.
Holy shit, a ballistic. So what we're talking about is Cyberpower is releasing a laptop. That's a basic laptop. That's great. So as we talked previously in the show, 4090s, i9, they run stupid hot. Even Fremo being an Intel and a NVIDIA fan, and I'll go ahead and say that they're a phenomenal combination, but they run very, very fucking hot. You need cooling on those units. Well, that's great. Cooling's cooling. But the Tracer is going to have 2 hose ports in the back where you can connect a water cooler, people. A fucking water cooler. So if you look in the show notes or if you watch in the YouTube video, I showed you a picture of the actual cooler on the side. So basically what you're going to do, it's so hard to do this story with a straight face. It's a water cooler sits on your desktop. It sits on your desktop. So it's about the size of a lunchbox. You connected 2 ports to the back of your computer and screw them in, which allows the water to go through. You pull
Think of it
the
this
top.
way. It's the radiator on your car, right? You have the radiator.
Okay.
It's
Yep.
got a hose that goes in and a hose that goes out.
Yep.
And it circles water through your engine to keep your engine from overheating. Okay? In this instance, your laptop is the engine. And this box is your radiator. And there's 2 hoses in between.
Yep.
Absolutely nothing could ever go wrong with that setup.
For those that have had leaks in their driveway or anything else. Yeah, this is absolutely ludicrous product.
And think about this. How many people, when they get done with their car and park it, unhook those hoses and put them back on before they drive again?
Nobody.
And you still get leaks in those connections.
I have no idea how they're gonna.
Why?
How they're gonna even make this like. So here's the theory behind it: is that you plug in the two.
I mean, these are guys that sit around and get high, and they're like,
we wouldn't even do that.
Like if you put an elephant's head on a rabbit's body,
dude.
What?
As drunk as you might get and as high as I might get, we would never come up with something like this. So the theory behind it is you have a lunchbox next to your laptop. In the lunchbox next to your laptop, you have two hoses coming out. They plug into the back of your computer. You plug them in, screw them in, makes a sealed connection with the O-rings. That's great. You open up the top of this lunchbox looking thing. You pour in. Oh, by the way, it's got RGB because that's important. You pour in your distilled water, not regular water, distilled water into it, close it up, and then you play the game. And it cools your GPU and your CPU. That's great. The concept is phenomenal. Okay, so now I'm done gaming at Starbucks. What do I do? Because if I disconnect those two cords, unless I have a stopper or something on them, I disconnect those two, it's just going to leak all the water out of that unit.
I mean, unless there's a pump. To
the
pull
pump's
the water
inside the
out of
box.
But what I'm saying, unless there's a pump, like a switch that you turn so that it does not continue to put, it turns the valve off going to the computer and then you pump the water out. But even then, what are you replacing that liquid with? Are you creating a vacuum within the system or are you putting air back in it? I mean,
what happens?
Is there always water sitting in those tubes in your laptop?
Well, that's okay. So I'm gonna vamp off of that because that was my thought. Like Fremont, people, we've told you before, Fremont and I do not discuss these stories prior to the show, so we have the exact same theory. When I disconnect this thing, the water that's left in my unit, is that cycling through? Does it create a loop with just water that's in it, or does the water just sit there dormant and not be used? What do I do when I leave?
I don't know. Some people may not know this. Water cannot be compressed. Okay?
Nor does
so if there is still water inside this laptop and you decide to run it without hooking it up and that water heats up, it will expand. Okay? It will expand. And I don't care what they built this tubing system out of, it will not withstand the pressure.
No,
Period.
it won't.
Period. Has anybody ever heard about a temperature release valve malfunction on someone's water heater and the water tank explodes?
Dude, look at your car. Your car. If your thermostat gets stuck and your radiator blows a hole, then you're leaking all over your driveway and shit, and you got to pull over on the side of the road because it's steaming up. Same concept.
That's why you don't. That's why you don't. Your water intake in your car is up high, so that if you're driving through puddles, you're not sucking water into your air intake that goes into the piston chamber. Because if you get water into the piston chamber, when it tries to compress, it's going to blow your piston rod out the bottom of your engine. Because water does not compress.
That was well explained, Free.
Water does not compress. You heat it up, it's going to go somewhere.
That is great.
It will take all of half a day when some Yahoo buys one of these, hooks it up, thinks it's great, unhooks the water cooler, and continues to run with an i9 and a 4090 and a 1300 watt power supply. It's going to literally take 30 minutes for that water to heat up enough to blow apart the laptop. I want video. I want to see it.
Yeah. Like I'm going to be looking out for the video on this. I'm going to be looking out for it. All right.
If you get your hands on one, let them know it will not be coming back intact because that is the first thing I'm going to do with it. I'm going to hook it up. I'm going to make sure there's water in the system. I'm going to unhook the hoses, and I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to stress the crap out of it until it explodes.
Yeah, if you're relying on this water cooler for any sort of gaming, what happens if somebody's not at home? They leave this shit at home. They go over to work, and then work goes, "Hey, we're having a gaming session tonight after work, over in the lobby. You want to join?" "Yeah, I will." And you go over there, but you don't have your water cooler. What do? It's going to overheat. It's going to overheat and explode. It's going to. It's inevitable.
Wait, I can't wait.
So one last thing before we leave the gaming stuff. Skull and Bones is going to be delayed again. Ubisoft's pirate game, which is it's loosely based on Assassin's Creed Black Flag with a dash of Sea of Thieves. Looks good. It's got a good storyline. It's not going to, in mine and Freeman, I'll speak for free. In mine and Freeman's opinion, you're not going to touch Sid Meier's Pirates. It's just, I don't know why, but Sid Meier's Pirates is still awesome.
Here's the thing. That was a hot genre for a little while. It's over with. You missed your window of opportunity.
You did. It was first announced in 2017, and now they've pushed it back yet again.
It'll never happen.
It's going to come out. They've done too much. It's going to come out. It's going to come out, but nobody's going to care. Sea of Thieves is killing it. And if you really wanted that experience, you already played Black Flag on Assassin's Creed, or you're going to. So I don't think this is going to do much at all. I have a little bonus thing for us this week, Free. Outside of the gaming thing. Well, kind of inside the gaming thing. Do you like Oreos, Free?
I actually prefer the store brand over Oreos.
Really?
Oreos, like they're to me they're bland flavor wise. Actual Oreos are.
Okay, but Oreos, you can agree that Oreos are pretty much the top of the food chain in the world.
It's an iconic cookie.
Right now in the UK, my friend, you can get a Xbox-related Oreo. I think it's brilliant branding. I give applause. Where's my applause button? Holy shit, I lost it. Oh, well.
Right next to the douchebag one, because you always mean to hit the applause one for me, but you always end up hitting the douchebag one.
Yeah, but it's not there. I might have erased it. But kudos to the Oreos company, Nabisco, I believe it is, that made this deal. It's pretty badass. So right now, they're only available in the UK, which means go to eBay and pay an extraordinary amount of money. You got
have them shipped and hope that they're still intact so that you can see the little Xbox-related images stamped into the cookie.
The financial advisor for BGFG is actually going to get these from eBay. I don't know why or how, but she says she will for us. 6 different designed cookies. You're going to have the Xbox logo, the A, the B, the Y, the X, and a directional arrow. So you can turn that shit any way you want. And people that enter the symbols right in the sequence unlock content in games. What games, you ask, Free?
Yeah.
Your standard Xbox games. Your franchise games. Of course, Halo. So you're going to have the Halo one, which is really cool looking. Again, it's a white armor for those that listen on the radio show, not watching the video. It's white armor, blue highlights with speckles of black in it. It's an Oreo thing, and I'm really tempted to do that. The other one is Sea of Thieves. Your flags and things will have Oreo flavors to them. And then you have, yes, Free, if you're watching the video, please look at the video, because in Forza Horizon 5, your beloved Pagani. I just had this conversation. I had my wife watch.
I'll never eat Oreos again.
Before.
If they're messing with the Pagani, I will never eat an Oreo breaded cookie again.
I watched a Motor Trend. I don't know if it was Motor Trend or it was how they build it.
I'm not even going to risk it.
Listen, you're going to appreciate
Sony,
this.
Apple.
Shut up. You're gonna appreciate this.
Bungie Oreo.
Shut up. You're gonna appreciate this. So I had the wife watch. She's like, "What do you mean pagoni or whatever? Is that a spaghetti?" And I'm like, no. I said, "This is Fremo's favorite car for years. This is Fremo's go-to car. It's a Pagani and it's blue." I said, and because we watched a Motor Trend episode, I think it was How They Build It, that episodic show, How They Build or How They Built It, whatever. But it was supercars, and one of them was Pagani. And when she saw the fact that the Pagani was completely made out of carbon fiber and what it did, it was a supercar and a hypercar, she was like, "Holy shit." I'm like, "Yeah, Fremo loves these cars. Like, this is his car."
Yeah.
The
Blue
fact
Pagani
that they're making...
C12 Super Sport.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to get me something for Christmas this year.
And if you look at the video that we have, it is a shitty looking Pagani. It's white with a blue stripe and black speckles on it. It's really not good looking. And I felt so bad for you because I know how much you love the Pagani. It's so horribly Oreo themed.
Okay, Oreo, you're about to get the Mario double salute. You do not mess with the Pagani. Oreo's on the list.
Oh, did they?
They're on the list.
Oh,
they're on the list. I will never buy Oreo cookies again, ever.
So they also announced the Oreo themed hardware, but I can't find it. The only thing I could find, I don't even know if I put the picture in there. No, I didn't. It's an Xbox One that's basically white with black.
Next time somebody offers me an Oreo, I may punch him in the nose.
I found an old picture of an Xbox One, but I haven't seen anything for the next gen consoles. That's basically what I did. But that's it. Do you have anything else this week?
Thanks for ending the show on a super down note for me.
Well, I'm going to
appreciate that.
I'm going to get the Halo gear, most likely.
Yeah, you would.
I'm going to figure it out. Yeah, I will.
I'm not kidding. I'm not buying Oreos anymore.
Will you at least play Halo?
A game I already don't want to play, and now it's got Oreo too. That's a twofer in one. No, that's a definite no.
Damn it!
You should have you should have told me. You shouldn't have told me about the Oreo thing, and you might have had a chance one day. But now, no.
So, do you remember before we leave? Do you remember the blind? Do you remember the Blind Melon song "No Rain"? Everybody does.
Yes.
All right. So there's a super duper remix. I'm going to play it at the end of the show. I don't have it queued up to play now, but we're going to play it for the people that download the podcast. We're going to play a Blind Melon super duper mix. Okay. It is really unique. Let me see if I can actually pull it up while we're live. Give me a second. Remember the bee girl? I don't know how important she was.
Yeah. On a side note, while he's searching, folks.
Yeah.
Everybody knows "No Rain" by Blind Melon. Certainly a great song, but not their best by far. Tones of Home. Give that one a listen.
Which one?
Tones of Home. I personally would submit that being their best song.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see if this plays through. It might not. No, it doesn't look like it is. So what it is a remix that's really short. I'm going to play it at the end of the show. If you're listening and you download the podcast, which is another enticement, you're going to get this. And it's a little bit of an extra, and it's really good. It's a super duper mix. It's just well done. And Freeman and I know he hasn't listened to it yet, but it's just a well done mix. It's how mixes should be done. So we covered CES today. We covered a little bit, no crypto stuff or NFT stuff or hacks. Though next week we'll probably be talking about the LastPass issue which is huge. I want to give it more time because that's huge. LastPass,
it's gonna be big.
Oh, that's a problem.
Beyond big.
And it goes right back to what we've said on the show previously. 3 passwords, 3 emails. You will never have a problem with that. Freeman and I both do that. We've been doing that for over 20 years. We have never had a problem. And I'll say that clearly because you have 3 passwords, you have 2-factor authentication on everything. You're not going to get compromised. You're really not, unless you're an idiot. You got anything else this week?
I do not.
All right.
I do not.
That's it for this week. 10's down, show's over.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast Podcasts, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.